Alright, welcome back. After a hiatus, we're back with another study in Gears. I mean, technically, although we have a study in Gears in the titles, we've done a few recent ones with our whole Abusing Boss, Arkham Origins Batman videos using the Ibis stick, plus the Cloak of Destiny videos with Batgirl and Raging Hawkgirl. So if you've been paying attention, the only one that's missing from the recent online NPCs and rewards exclusives, Gauntlets of Azrael, which starts off as the Gloves of Azrael, which conveniently was a recent repeat in the online season rewards. And we've been putting off doing this video until we've had more time to play with them, because at first glance they seem like the worst of the new 4, which become 5-star gears, and after playing with them a bit, that impression really hasn't changed much.
Yeah, so originally what we did is we tried out the gauntlets on the basic damage monster Arkham Origins Deathstroke, but he can juggle a lot better with his swipe combo, so his tap combo ability on the gauntlets themselves isn't really that useful. Ultimately, the team we decided to use, which you just saw, has the N52 Nightwing with both Ra's al Ghul Scimitar and the gauntlets. And in fact, it's the exact same team that we recently demonstrated, which is N52 Nightwing, Bounty Hunter Lobo, Cassandra King Batgirl. And the only difference is we've switched out the mutated bone spikes for the gauntlets. And this is why. So his tap combo is pretty good, and it's a double hit ender. Even though we're boosting his basic attack with the Eskrima sticks, his damage is still low enough that the opportunity cost of using a slot with the gauntlets isn't too bad. Because the damage isn't as high, life drain is nowhere near as much, so instead of being a game changer, it's just more of a nice bonus. But that's okay, since we're doing his tap combos anyways to drain with the Scimitar. So, let's get into it and break down exactly why we really don't think this is the best 5-star gear, and really when a lot of 3-star evolving into 4-star gear can work better in the same circumstances, which you'll see in these battles where we found we often have a harder time, even though we're using the Gauntlets of Azrael instead of 3 evolving into 4-star gear of the mutated bone spikes. It's actually harder to complete battles with that than it is with this layout. So we'll talk first about the health boost. Yeah, it's higher, which is 30% than almost any other health booster. The others cap out at 22%, except for Batmobile, which is also 30%. The next thing is this is the only gear that lets you life drain without having to do a special. Kind of like Ra's al Ghul Scimitar is the only way to power drain without having to do the special. But the main problem with the life drain is this. The ability to regain health is based off of the amount of damage you deal on the combo ender, instead of the amount of total health you have. And so every other health boosting gear uses the amount of total health you have, except for Batmobile. So it makes sense to equip it to a tank, right? Because if you have a if the character is supposed to fulfill a tank role, it's good for them to have high health, and the lower percentages will still be a higher total amount of health because they have so much health. So if you use tap combos a lot, combo enders will happen more often than using a special to trigger healing, which is good, but the gears that heal on specials will heal a lot more on the characters that you'd be putting them on, which is bad for Gauntlets of Azrael because it doesn't have the same benefits. And that ties into the most important point. If you want to get the most benefit from the gauntlets, you need to have someone who will deal the most damage, preferably somebody with a 2-hit combo ender like Nightwing does. But if you got somebody who can deal a lot of damage, why would you use up a gear slot on a health boost and on healing? It's really just opportunity cost. You're taking up a slot that could be used for boosting damage on somebody who is an effective damage dealer, and you're using it instead so that they can heal based off of their attack. And this isn't so bad with gears such as Mutated Bone Spikes or Knife Collection, where you get the heal effect and you also get the 80% boost on basic damage. The gauntlets... 70%? Is it 75? 70, sorry. The gauntlets give a health boost and a life drain for you and your teammates, but you're losing out on the chance to boost damage, and in most cases you really won't need the gauntlets for a health boost, because that's not going to be the type of character that you're going to want to put the gauntlets on. And it speaks to the larger principle in setting up teams. There isn't a single character that is the best at everything. although Arkham Origins Deathstroke is pretty close. So most people set up teams with different characters having different roles. There's often a basic damage dealer, you have a tank, maybe a special specialist, and maybe some support characters, depending. For the Gauntlets to be better than regular health and healing gears, you need to stick them on your basic damage dealer, which makes him or her less effective as a damage dealer, and that's the biggest problem. If you really wanted somebody on the team that can heal themselves and the rest of the team, like the Gauntlets let you do, either of the gold Harley Quinns can do a better job than somebody who has the Gauntlets on them. And if you're going to be forced to use tap combos to take advantage of most of the benefits, Ra's al Ghul Scimitar is more useful. So, why not use both, you guys might be asking. Well, because then you'd only have one slot free for basic damage or crit chance boost, meaning you've only got a 45% crit chance instead of a 70% crit chance if you're using 2 basic damage or crit chance gears, which again decreases the benefits from the Gauntlets because you're doing less damage when you have fewer crits. Sure, Life Drain is better than healing when you're facing Regime Killer Frost, but even then, the best strategy for dealing with her is knocking her out as quickly as possible. And we also can't ignore playability. Some characters are just better with their tap combos than others, and on some characters you really can't juggle with their tap combos. So overall, this is why we really don't think Gauntlets of Azrael are good, because most of the circumstances where they're actually effective, there's other gears that'll do better things and be more helpful.
Yeah, it's not awful. It's not an awful piece of gear, but I guess among the legendary pieces, it's probably the weakest. It's not bad. It would be not bad 3-star gear that turned into 4-star gear.
Yeah, and I can see why it's a 4-star that turns into a 5-star gear. I mean, it does have a lot of abilities. Its abilities are pretty unique. It has all of the traits that a 4-star evolving into 5-star gear has. It just, most of the time when you have a 4-star evolving into 5-star gear, it's also really good because it has all those things, right?
Yeah.
Like Ra's al Ghul Scimitar is really good because of its drain. And the thing is, it's an almost identical ability. It's different, but it's so close, and it's so similar that you can really tell that they came from basically the same place design-wise, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't actually make up for the fact that it's just not that helpful.
Alright, Raven's going to be interesting because we don't really have one big hit special. So it might not be a bad idea to let him get a little bit weaker. He's got a not bad multi-hit second special. So clearly she's at it did not crit.
And it's also interesting because the gear does have a lot of synergy, right? All the effects are related and all of it ties together, which is something that's normally really, really great in gear. But I guess it just speaks to the fact that sometimes long, drawn-out battles with lots of healing aren't really that good, right? Especially in Injustice, in like Immortals and stuff, where we saw with the Big Show combo, right? It's really effective, only because we're seeing kind of the first overpowered synergy effects, where everything else is pretty balanced. But in this case, when a lot of the effects are really powerful, the synergy in this case isn't as helpful because the little bits of healing and stuff, well, I guess it could be good for a defensive team.
That's true, because you don't have much control over it, right? So having that ability, I guess you gotta find the right guys that will do the combo finishers, because a lot of them won't.
Yeah.
I mean, Darkseid does some, but a lot of them just don't even do the combo finisher, even when they do a tap combo.
So it's a very, very small margin of cases, I think, that this can be effectively used.
Yeah.
And I think by the time that you have everything maxed out, right, you really won't be making much use of this at all.
So this is what's illustrating. This isn't the most efficient way to fight with him, but what I'm trying to do is illustrate just how good a juggler Nightwing, N52 Nightwing is, and why he actually makes use of it. So even though he's not doing a lot of damage, right? Like what you're seeing is it's not a quick fight.
Yeah, and if you watched our other videos, it was a lot less of a struggle. It was a lot easier, faster when we were using mutated bone spikes, which is kind of funny.
Well, because he heals so much on the special one, right?
Yeah.
He will not. He's immune to bargaining.
So he'll be a little bit of a pain.
Let's drain him a little bit. Let's drain her a little bit.
She won't be able to use any of her specials. There we go.
Yeah, the drag is really mutated bone spikes. This special one gives you big chunky healing.
So much healing, yeah. Where, especially for Nightwing, when his special one is a pretty big part of what makes him so good, right? The ability to keep them drained.
Oh yeah.
It's unfortunate to have to give up on mutated bone spikes, because really that's the only gear in his arsenal that you can afford to give up for Gauntlets of Azrael. Anything else would make it even harder.
There we go.
It's good, you're not having too much trouble, but it's nowhere near like the raw power of Ares.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good. The thing is, it's a good team. Where it's good is it's got sort of a balanced attack. Where it's a little bit weak is you don't really have a great tank, right? Nobody with really high health. Although Nightwing sort of acts that way because he's got the gauntlets and he's doing the healing and the life drain. But nobody with an overwhelming kind of basic attack. And what else are we missing on this? Nobody with a really strong one hit special. So then if you run into Raven, you have to win really a war of attrition. You can't just sort of blast her out of the water like you do with Ares. Mixed metaphors and all that. Alright, so there we go.
Dismount a horse drinking water midstream.
That's it. No, did not release a block at birth. There we go. That's right.
Nice. Right after the first hit.
There we go. Crit.
Well done.
Smooth. No loss. Alright, so there you go. There's our Gauntlets of Azrael. So let's take a quick look back. That's less than a minute. Not a bad time. Not awful. And again, we're not really going for time in this video. More just a demonstration of why Nightwing is a good guy to use for this because of his ability to juggle attack combos.
And I think he's one of the only people that you can really effectively use Gauntlets of Azrael with.
Alright. There you go. Thanks for watching, guys.
See you guys next time.